Somehow, in September, I missed a miniature. We missed a preview, and this one is significant because I've only just seen it. And for some reason, the first time I saw it, I could have sworn that this was a third-party, definitely not Space Marine, but it isn't. Now, the only reason I saw this is because I was on the Warcom site looking for something, and I saw a little notification saying that there was a delayed deployment for a new miniature. I'm assuming this guy was supposed to be out in October, but he's been pushed to November. This is the little notification they've given. Excellent, I'm glad they're keeping people up to date and telling people when release dates have been changed. Open communication. All good. No complaints about that. 10 out of 10. However, good communication aside, the picture really messed me up because I don't think I've seen this before, and if I have, I've somehow blocked it out of my brain. It could be that I'm just slowly falling apart at the seams. I mean, to be honest, that is most likely true. But something about this is just so third party, and I don't know why. This is the Traitor Champion Consul, and for whatever reason, it just looks not quite Games Workshop or not quite Forge World, and I can't really explain to you why I think that is. I kind of want to say it's everything about it, but that's a ridiculous statement to make because it's quite clearly like based on Mark III armour. It's heavily modified, clearly, but you can see the inspiration underneath. The newer Mark III armour, obviously, you know, the newer ones, not the old ones that they did, which I actually kind of preferred in many ways, especially the helmets, but what are you going to do? But things like the armour on the legs is still pretty clearly Mark III. We've got a little bit of extra ornamentation around the greaves at the bottom. We've got like those reinforcement studs, and we've got a little bit of extra like metal and trim going on, but it's nothing too egregious. It's when we get to the chest. The shoulder pads, again, are pretty clear cut, pretty simple. We do have a little bit of extra ornamentation. I like the way the cloak's attached. That's really cool. Also, badass cloak. Great cloak. Look at the way it goes over the shoulder, and it actually like molds to the metal so that you can see the shape of the pauldron underneath. Hell yes. Love that detail. Absolutely class. The problem for me arises when we get to the arms, when we get to the helmet, when we get to the chest, and when we get to the power pack, which is a lot of the model, which is probably what's throwing me off. See, to me, when we get to the chest, head, and power pack, they don't just not really look like Mark III components. They look like components that are supposed to look like Games Workshop components, but aren't actually Games Workshop components. They look like Space Marine, but definitely not an actual Space Marine, because we don't make Space Marines. We're a third-party company. We make Cosmic Legionaries, or we make Space Commanders, or Star Crusaders, or I'm trying to think of some of the other ones I've seen. I mean, God, there's so many. But there's just something about the overall presentation of this thing that just really feels like it's not actually a Space Marine, and I wish I could properly explain why that is, or whether it's just a case of my brain being completely melted from seeing God knows how many different My Mini Factory creators and Patreons and third-party manufacturers making things that are definitely not Space Marines, but are totally stand-ins for Space Marines. I think it's because those components are so far away from the actual Mark III armour that it's just like throwing off my perception of it. The helmet is so different from a Mark III helmet. The chest has got so many extra pieces and like a gigantic gorget that the actual standard armour doesn't have. The power pack may as well be off a completely different mark of armour. Like, the vents don't look the same. The way that they're attached don't look the same. The armour that's coming over the top of them, not even remotely similar. Like, there's just so much going on here that is such a departure from the actual Mark III sort of chassis that it just doesn't... It looks like legally distinct Mark III, but also not like Mark III at all. Now, I know there's going to be those of you who are sitting there shouting, typing furiously, getting very angry at my description of this thing, and assuming that because I've said what I've just said, that I don't like it. However, you can put your keyboards down and you can chill out, because all that being said, this guy looks quality. This guy looks absolutely great. right? At no point have I said this looks bad. At no point have I suggested that the design is terrible, that it doesn't work, that it looks really crap, and that someone clearly didn't try. No, I love this. This is great. This is one of the coolest, like, HQ/character model things they've done for ages. It looks so different and so unique. The cloak looks absolutely fantastic. The pose is really nice. It is simple but purposeful. It also does not feature standing on any sort of tactical rock, and yet it still looks imposing and commanding, so that's a plus. The added trim on the pauldrons and the greaves looks fantastic. I do like the extra bit on like the wrist armor there as well. I like that kind of addition of those sort of gems that have been set in. That looks really nice. The little detail of how the cloak is attached to the pauldrons is brilliant. Somehow, in a game full of Space Marines that look like Space Marines, that is the precursor to another game that is 90% Space Marines, it feels like at least at times, this guy kind of stands out in all the right ways. Yes, some of the stuff on here has kind of broken my brain, because I spend a lot of time looking at stuff on like my mini factory and stuff, but that doesn't take away from how cool this guy is. Like, look at that helmet. That's a great helmet. That looks awesome. The power pack somehow looks even cooler from behind. I'm not even going to bother making the joke this time. I'm just not doing it. You can fill that in yourself. I shouldn't have said fill that in yourself. I can honestly say, despite pretty much everything I've already said in this video, that I really genuinely like this model. It looks fantastic. The question I've got, I suppose, is it just me? Is it just me? If it is just me, then it'll be good to know, because then I can try and do something to cleanse my brain. Maybe I'll take it out and run some bleach through it or something. Stick it in some isopropyl alcohol. Stick it in one of those. Stick it in the old ultrasonic cleaner that you use for cleaning resin prints, and just give it a spin. See if it comes out a little bit more shiny and maybe less smooth, because it's definitely getting there. Anyway, that got really weird. Thank you very much for watching. Let me know what you think of this model and its third-partiness or not in the comments down below. As always, there's a bunch of affiliate links in there, including one for a cool t-shirt. I really like this one. It's good. Like it. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. I'll see you for the next one.